Got a question for you guys. Since when did disagreement turn into hatred? It's automatically interpreted as hatred. When has that ever been a thing in human history until, I don't know, until recently? Why is that, why is that the case? Even when it is on so-called personal issues, anytime you bring characteristics of a person and you discuss a disagreement about that, or maybe a certain race appears to be targeted when that's not necessarily the case, but it just happens. It's been going on for a while in human history where those two ideas get conflated. The standing up against evil as opposed to standing up against a certain race and labeling every single person in that race as evil. So let's give you a perfect example. In the 70s, I think it went into the early 80s too, when they started cracking down on the mafia, like the FBI started cracking down on the mafia. They started bringing the five families, Lucchese and Gambino and whoever else, started bugging them and getting people to turn on their mob bosses, and they succeeded in basically taking down the entire mob. While that whole investigation was going on, I don't know if you guys know this, there were Italian people marching in the streets with signs that said the FBI is anti-Italian. It's not really talked about that much anymore because we've moved on to different things to conflate. But that was a thing back then. Just like nowadays, you want to secure the border. If you want to secure the border, you're not interested in national security. You just hate Mexicans. That's why you want to do that. That's why you want to secure the border, because you hate Mexicans. You want to crack down on crime. That means you hate poor people, or you hate black people, or whatever. It's like, we didn't say that all poor people and black people are criminals. Like, you guys are the ones saying that. Because if we really wanted to crack down on all black people, we would say, let's throw all black people in jail. But that's not what gets said. What gets said is, we need to crack down on crime. But you get the leaders of the Black Caucus saying, that's just another excuse you're using to throw black people in jail. Okay, well, however you want to interpret that. It's like, I can't stop you from interpreting. And sometimes I think it's a purposely disingenuous interpretation. You don't necessarily interpret it that way, but you publicly state that you interpret it that way to get the foolish people who follow you to interpret it that way. So there's like accidental conflation, and then there's purposeful conflation. So what does conflation mean? According to the dictionary, conflation is the merging of two or more sets of information, texts, ideas, or opinions into one, often in error. That's per the dictionary. So let's use a very benign example. I think 1 + 1 = 3, and you think 1 + 1 = 2. For anybody who would be even interested in wasting their time debating that with me, and I'm sitting there insisting that 1 + 1 is 3, what would you think to yourself if in the middle of that conversation I accused you of hating me because you disagreed with me on that? What would you think if I said that? All these ideas, they really get exacerbated by the politicians, and we are letting politicians lead us around by the nose. We're letting the news media lead us around by the nose, and literally we are buying into their lies, hook, line, and sinker, which is why I don't watch the news anymore. And I mean, I honestly, I don't watch it. When I say I don't watch it, I'm telling you, I don't watch it just a little bit. I don't cut down on my news intake. I don't watch it. I don't read it. The only news that I would really be interested in is if we were being attacked from an outside force, or if something locally was happening where I was that was going to affect me personally. That's the only thing where I'd be like, oh my God, I got to get on the news and find out what's going on. You know, or if I heard tornado sirens outside and like, oh, okay, there's like funnel clouds in my area. Now I need to turn on the news and find out what's going on. But I don't need to turn on the news to find out what's going on with, hey, they burnt down another building in Portland, Oregon. Okay, whatever. What am I going to do? What am I going to do about that? Nothing. I'm just going to get pissed off. I'm going to get pissed off at the people who burn the buildings down, or I'm going to get pissed off at the people who pissed them off and caused them or motivated them to burn the buildings down. But remember when we were kids and they had the nightly news? It came on at whatever time, 7 o'clock. It was like CBS News, NBC News, the local news, and then there was the, you watch your local news. We were in Chicago, so we watched the local Chicago news. And then, if we were really, really interested in being news junkies, we would turn on CBS News and get get what's going on in the whole world, what's going on in the whole country, blah, blah, blah. Hear about, back in the 80s, hear about the Iraq-Iran war and whatever, other stuff. But I was just a kid. I was like, I don't know what's going on over there. Now, what do we have today? We have 24-hour news cycles. And because they have a 24-hour news cycle on Fox News, on MSNBC, on CNN, they have to constantly keep coming up with shit to tell you because they have 24 hours to fill. They have to keep the ratings. They can't have the ratings go down. So what are they going to do? They're going to rehash the same shit over and over again, tell a different version of the story. They're going to make the story really more interesting than it really is to keep you interested and keep you watching. They're going to make it more controversial so that you tweet their article or you post their article on Facebook so that you can get in political discussions with your friends and disagree with your friends, and the whole time they're just laughing all the way to the bank because you're forwarding their links everywhere and everybody's clicking on their links and they're getting AdSense revenue. I just decided to drop out of it. I just decided that I'm not going to participate in it anymore. Or as little as humanly possible. I'm going to participate in it as little as humanly possible. Like, you have to literally talk me into turning the news on. You have to talk me into it. If somebody's like, if one of my friends calls me up and they're like, Shafe, turn on the news right now, I'd be like, why? No, seriously, just go ahead and turn it on. Why? Why do I need to turn it on? What, you don't want to watch the news? No, I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to watch the fucking news. So give me a good reason why I should turn the news on. And they say, oh, because this, and this, like, this shit's going on over in Ukraine right now. I can't. Okay, whatever. I don't care. It's not that I don't care in the sense, like, fuck those people and let them all fry. It's not in that, but it's more of like, it's their business. It's between Ukraine and Russia. It's got nothing to do with me. In the same way that, like, if my neighbors down the street are arguing with each other, it might be interesting enough to go down there and stand there and watch them fight over something, because that in itself is interesting. But I ain't going to get involved in it. I ain't going to take sides. It's got nothing to do with me. But you guys got to realize that the news media is dragging you around by the nose, and the politicians are dragging you around by the nose, and they are purposely conflating these issues. And they're making They're making you think that people hate you because they disagree with you. They're telling you people hate you because they disagree with you, and that's just not the case. It's just not the case. And the only way that you can really fight that is just by turning the fucking news off. Just turn it off. Turn it off. Get some work done. You know? You want to watch TV? Watch a fucking baseball game. You want to watch TV? Watch a movie. Watch cartoons. Pop in a DVD of your favorite movie from the 90s. I don't care. Why do you gotta watch the news? Why do you gotta listen to politicians talk? It's like choosing junk food over health food. Why would you do that? Don't you know your brain is a sponge? Don't you know that? You think you're in control of your thoughts. You really do. I used to think that too. I really did. I used to think that. Until one day, I realized, I was like, you know what? I'm just regurgitating all the talking points that I heard on Fox News last week. That's all I'm doing. Just regurgitating. I'm puking up the shit that's been spoon-fed to me. That's not good. That's scary, man. I mean, I spent a long time regurgitating some of the nonsense that my parents raised me with, you know. He used to tell me certain things. It's not that they told me a bunch of bad stuff, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they told me that wasn't right, you know. Whether it had to do with politics or religion or whatever it was. I had to break off from that and just figure out shit on my own. You know, but this whole idea of conflation, it's really one of human beings' biggest problems. It really is. It really is. And the fact that everyone is so primed, they're already primed, they're already ready, they're set to pounce, like their claws are up like this and they're just waiting. They're just waiting for you to say one of their trigger words and Triggering is a real thing. I mean, triggering is a real thing. The fact that we're making such a big deal out of it is because everybody's so ready to be triggered. Everybody's so ready. Don't trigger me. That's a trigger word for me. Like, okay, everything's a trigger word for you, for fuck's sake. You know, everything's a trigger word now because you know, you can't say, do you know that, they started calling, in baseball, they started, instead of calling them batters, they started calling them batsmen. Why? What does that mean? That almost sounds like batsman. That's almost like saying it has to be a man. I'm like really surprised that they made that jump. And batter is more, it's gender neutral, right? But when you say batsman, that's almost, it's like, I don't know. But you know, postman became letter carrier. Stewardess became flight attendant. I mean, are these maybe more correct because there's like one out of every 14 stewardesses are males and they don't want to be called a stewardess, so they change it. I mean, yeah, it is more quote correct, but again, you know, it's like you're just everything is all about we're watering stuff down, you know. And it's the same thing that Mike was talking about with the happy holidays. You know, why do you say happy holidays to people? Well, because not everybody celebrates Christmas, and I want to be respectful of those. Okay, fine, that's fine. I don't think it's a bad idea in itself. I don't think that's a bad idea. I really don't. What I think is a bad idea is you flying off the fucking handle because somebody said Merry Christmas to you. That is what I think is a bad idea. I mean, picture yourself for 1 second. Picture yourself. Just picture this right now. Just try to imagine this in your mind. You, an American, you go to a Muslim country, a theocracy. You go to Iran. and you're walking around a shopping center in Iran and somebody says, Happy Ramadan. Happy Ramadan. May Muhammad bless you. Whatever. And then imagine you screaming at that person, I don't believe in Muhammad. Don't say Happy Ramadan to me. I'm a Christian. It's probably not something you would do. You probably, before you did that, you'd be like, I need to check myself and think about where am I? Of course they're going to say Muhammad bless. I mean, they're being nice to me by saying, peace be upon you. Muhammad's peace be upon you. Or they're actually trying to say something nice to me. They're trying to say Happy Ramadan to me. It's a greeting. It's a nice thing to say, according to them. You can't give them a little grace. You're going to scream at them because they didn't say, Jesus loves you, or they didn't say Merry Christmas to you, or Happy Holidays, or whatever. But here we are. The melting pot of America. Seemed like a good idea, but I think what human beings are finding out very quickly in this experiment called America is that if you really are going to combine all these different ethnicities and cultures into one cesspool of human beings trying to live next to each other with all their different ideologies bleeding into one another, and it's like, you better invent a whole new language. You better invent a whole new language. You better say Happy Holidays and nothing else in December. You better call people by their name instead of them calling sir or ma'am or he or she or this or that. Like, you better tolerance is just non-existent now. The right has no tolerance for the left has no tolerance for the right. The centrists have no tolerance for the people on the fringe. And they shouldn't have any tolerance for people who are marching up and down the street demanding all kinds of ridiculous things. It's like we're being told to conflate all these ideas. We're foolish enough to believe what we're being told. We are stupid enough to listen to our leaders who are just trying to make money. They're just trying to make money, and they're trying to stay in power. That's what they're doing. They're trying to make money. They're trying to stay in power. The way they make money, the way they stay in power, is to get you to hate the other side. Because if you don't hate the other side, you ain't going to give them money to fight the other side. And when they get money to fight the other side, they put 10% of it toward fighting the other side, and the other 90% they use to fuel their private jets and stay in their fucking, $20,000 a night hotels, and and you're stupid enough to keep writing the checks. All because they're succeeding in getting you to conflate all of these ideas together. Somebody disagrees with me, therefore they hate me. We must kill the patriarchy. We must get rid of the white man. People think that here's the biggest lie that minorities believe. The biggest lie that minorities believe is that if they just increase their numbers, that they'll end up taking over. And that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. What's the percentage of Jews in this country? Anybody know? I don't even know I think it's lower than black people. Like, blacks are like about 13-14% of the American public. I don't know exactly what Jews are, but I think they're in the single digits. So Jews are clearly in the minority in this country. So if they're in the minority, how do they have so much money? How are they running Hollywood, basically? How are they running the banking system? How are they doing all that if they're not in the minority? Or if they're not in the majority, rather. If they're in the minority, how can they do that? You just have to ask yourself these questions. And now, I'm not being anti-Semitic. I'm saying those guys are fucking brilliant. I'm saying they're brilliant. Who are the funniest comedians in the world? They're all Jews. All of them. Well, not all of them. I don't think Louis C.K. is a Jew. But look at the history of Jewish comedians. Oh my God. It's like they are some of the funniest people who've ever been on the planet. Look at the history of Jewish chairmen of the Federal Reserve. Now again, I don't say this to be anti-Semitic. I say this to point out the fact that they are a minority. They are a minority in this country. And they're fucking running things. At least they get accused of running things all the time. So how can they do that if they're in the minority? Because they're smart. Are Asians in the majority in this country? No. Why so many of them end up being doctors and dentists and engineers and shit? How come you don't have Asian ghettos all over the place if they're in the minority? Because they realize that being in the minority ain't a bad thing. And they also realized that being the squeaky wheel ain't a good thing. Marching up and down the street, we want Asian rights, we need to stop Asian hate, blah, blah. Yeah, some people do that, but it don't make the news very often. Asians are just like, dude, whatever, you can hate on me all you want. I'll be over here in my mansion, driving my Ferrari, swimming in my swimming pool with my, private practice that I opened up. My private dental practice or doctor practice or engineering firm that I opened. You can hate me all you want. I'll be living in my gated community sipping on fucking boat drinks while you're outside hating me. That's fine. But for some reason, people think there's this white dominatrix fucking patriarchy out there. It's like, I know I just misused the term dominatrix, but that's all right. I'm just going to let it slide. Your mom's a dominatrix. Anyway, you know what I mean. The white man's in the crosshairs. And I think the white man deserves it sometimes because of all the hillbillies out there, all of the racist hillbillies who are like, fuck fucking fags, fucking niggers, fucking you, fucking, like those guys, like they're just straight up full of hate, and it just is what it is, I mean, but I ain't one of them. Don't conflate me with them. I'm not that, And then you hear people. This is a big thing in college. So I went to Ohio State back in the 90s, and there was this big uprising of black studies and this and that, and the whole idea started coming to fruition back then of like, black people can't be racist. They can't be racist. I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean you can't be racist? Yes, it's impossible for us to be racist. Oh, okay, so if you march up and down the street saying kill whitey and all white people must die and I hate white people, that's not racist? No, it's not. It's not racist. Okay, explain to me why. Well, because only someone who's in power and who's in the majority can be racist. Anybody who's in the minority can't be racist. It's like, it doesn't fit the definition, our definition of racism. Like, okay, I guess on that definition of racism, then shit, yeah, black people can do whatever they want then. They can march up and down the street and murder anybody they want and spread as much hate as they want. Just because they're in the minority, that's not going to be labeled as racist. Like, okay, sounds good. I mean, it doesn't sound good, but like, whatever, dude. So, but then they say that we're racist. Why are we racist? Well, because you're white. Aren't you being racist by saying that? No. Remember, I can't be racist. I'm not just saying the left is full of hypocrites. I'm saying both sides are. I mean, both sides are clearly full of hypocrisy. But it's this whole idea of conflation. I keep going back to conflation. Merging two ideas together. That's really what leads to racism, right? You're merging ideas together. You say, I had a bad experience with an Asian person once. Therefore, I'm going to merge that idea with the idea that all Asians must be like this. I generalize, I paint broad strokes, and I say, therefore, I'm just going to stay away from Asian people. I'm a woman, I had a bad experience with a man. Therefore, all men are scum. It's probably the biggest problem that we suffer from currently. As far as our thinking is concerned. As far as creating false premises, it's probably the biggest problem that we suffer from. And don't you think the politicians know that? Don't you think that they do it on purpose? They get us to do that on purpose? I think they do. Just saying.